Welcome to Brandworking TV with your host, Lauren Clement, from the Ultimate Business Propeller.
Mel grew up in an abusive household in Scotland, and after leaving school she worked as an office junior in an oil and gas company. She emigrated to Australia and worked for a range of industries and sectors supporting busy executives, so she knows what it's like to live in a man's world. When the realisation came that children weren't for her, she divorced and discovered a world of online dating. After 70 first dates, she was struggling to find what she wanted, the right men that brought the right mix of go-getter attitudes, attraction and her values. What she learned through these encounters, especially the difference between online profiles and reality, she journaled. She also noticed how successful single younger managers suffered from isolation through their forced career efforts. Mel has put all of that experience and insight into programs, courses and practical coaching with a library of resources and mindset healing to help transform lives from uncertainty to living a life by absolute design. Thanks, Mel, for being on Brandworking TV. It's absolutely brilliant to have you here. Now, you call yourself the relationship wing girl. How does that work?
It kind of came about a bit of an accident. So I'm one of those people that my friends would call up when they were having troubles. And somebody once said, you're like a wing guy. I went, I kind of like that concept. Because the comfort of being there when somebody needs you it's just something of what I do. It doesn't matter, way before I became a professional coach. You just show up when you're needed. And then when I started my programs, I realized there was an element missing, and that was the out of hours, the additional ad hoc support. And so it kind of just became a natural evolution of what I do anyway, and now it's incorporated so my clients get hold of me when the reality is they need help after hours, or a discussion or an argument's happened in the household, and they want to resolve it before bed. They don't want to go to bed angry, so they call their wing girl.
Awesome, because a wing guy or a wing girl is the person who's always there for you right when you need them.
Yeah,
so that's
pretty
awesome.
much.
So Mel, you've said that the mass empowerment of women has emasculated men. Explain what you think about equality.
So I'm just going to pre-frame this one. Don't lynch me, all right? I'm all for empowerment of women. I am an activist for women. However, what I have come across and what I stand up against is how we're inadvertently, through our sense of growing and being given our independence and giving and receiving our power back, is inadvertently we are stepping on our men. We're expecting them to do more because we are achieving more, but they haven't caught on yet. And what I mean by that is the polarity scale has swung so much in our favor in some aspects that the men are kind of being left behind in the evolution of themselves. So there's kind of two camps. There's the alpha blokes, who are the ones we don't really like and support. They're the ones who are the misogynists. They are the ones who are conducting the Me Too issues. Then there's the other camp, the beautiful souls, the men that are in my life who are polarizing themselves so far. They don't want to be associated with those alpha blokes, yet they are alpha men in their own power. But they don't know how to do that with these beautiful, empowered women. So we've got this kind of now disparity between strong, beautiful men who are also emotionally intelligent, who are comfortable being vulnerable, who are true men, who are true king role models. And I have found in my work there's kind of, we don't quite know how to bring those two soul levels together yet. It's kind of great. We've got our empowerment. The alpha blokes, the yucky ones, they're still telling men to eat concrete. They're telling their men to toughen up, when actually we want them to soften. But how do we soften? How do we, as more empowered women, as alpha females, how do we bring that and allow them to be alpha at times and us to bring our strengths? So it's this whole shift of empowerment of women is beautiful and amazing, but it's got to be done in conjunction with men. Just as much as the equality discussion is as much for men to bring to the table as it is for women.
So it's an evolutionary thing, isn't it? And unfortunately, when evolution happens, there's always the people who don't deal with that particularly well. And I'm expecting that the alpha men are still holding their ground because that's their safe place. That's the place where they feel empowered, and they're continuing to conduct themselves in the way they always have because that's what they know. And it is hard to evolve. So I guess having some patience with the opposite sex, regardless of whether you're male or female, and understanding that there's an evolutionary process is really important.
It's opening the dialogue. I was watching Hannah, the comedian, I forget her name right now, who did Nanette.
Yes.
And it's bringing out those conversations. How do we make it okay? And it's now, sexual abuse used to be 1 in 4, and the number's more like 3 in 4 now, because the conversation's more acceptable.
Use your words, boys. Use your words.
Yes.
And ladies, let them speak. Let them be heard.
That's absolutely right. And how do we have different conversations? How do we remove the anger and some of the emotions that quite rightly is there, but how do we move on in a more proactive manner?
Absolutely. And I guess it's that, do you like the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus? Is that a helpful guide? Or?
Do you know, I haven't read it in about 10 years. I did a bunch of that work when I was divorced, and that's when I realized I was being an alpha chick. I was being very emasculating of my men. I expected my dates, the 71st dates were actually kind of my fault. I expected men to step up. I was highly successful, sought after in my career, in my corporate world. And I expected men to step up. I wanted that kind of American confidence, but I didn't like the arrogance attached to it. So how do we find that in a culture where men are being dulled down, where men are being told to toughen up? So they are toughening up, but they're not allowing the other aspects of themselves to come through as well.
Yeah, awesome. So, Mel, you talk a lot in your programs and your books about Imago Matches. What's an Imago Match?
So there's a school of thought and a therapy technique that I think it originated from. So an Imago Match is when two people come together. So say you and I are in a working relationship. A great Imago Match is when you are bringing something to me that allows me to have a mirror shown up to me, and you're showing me, I guess, the weaknesses or the wounds that I need to work on. And a great Imago Match is when we're equally doing that for each other. Now, if we bring that into our relationships, into our intimate love relationships, it can cause challenge. But the growth is through that challenge. If your partner is showing you the areas of yourself that need to be worked on, the trigger points that are occurring, it's an honor to have that done with respect and grace, but we don't always do it necessarily. We don't always respond. We don't like our flaws to be pointed out to us. So true Imago Match is when we accept that they're bringing that mirror to us. They're showing us what we need to work on, because through that we grow and be not only a better person in our relationship, we show up in society a lot more stable, and we can make a bigger impact on our communities, even on the universe, how we show up, the vibrations we're sending out. It's all got a massive ripple effect and are very subtle. We're all part of a big ecosystem of energy.
So, of course, the hardest part is, especially in relationships, that we tend to damage the people we care about the most. And just, you're always late, or you never dress well, or you never listen to me. And it's these really hurtful things we say to each other. So the Imago Match is a really great positive way to talk about the things that we don't like in each other's personality or the way we conduct ourselves. Do you coach people through that process?
Absolutely. It's something I help to identify. It's one of the first, if I'm doing a coaching session, as far as identifying some issues in a relationship, understanding yourself is critical. If you know that they're inadvertently, this is all subconscious stuff, but if they're holding that mirror up, you're always late. If you know that within yourself, one, you're going to be frustrated that you do it. You don't mean to do it, whatever the reason that is occurring for. And then to have your loved one kind of,
sticking away at it,
sticking the barbs in, and it's like, oh, this is my thing. This is how I'm allowing this weakness to represent in my relationship. And if it's being received as a negative disrespect, let's reframe that. How can we look and say it's actually their thing? We're working on that independently. It's not about you. You're late again and you disrespect me. That's not necessarily the case. They're late with everyone. It's not personal.
They disrespect everybody.
But there's also how you look at, how you label, how you see and perceive the things that somebody else needs to work on.
Because it is virtually impossible to see the world from somebody else's position, to really know what's going on inside their mind and their heart. So to have that process, to be able to get them to tell you how they feel and what's really going on.
It takes practice. You can get really good, and obviously my relationship is one I refer to the most. We built up in the 2.5 years a really good non-verbal communication exchange. He knows when I'm stressed, when I'm because I'm an empath. He knows when to tell that something's not right with me, and to read that sign instead of pushing him and proceeding with his agenda. He knows how to work with me. But that's only because I know myself and I've been able to train him in how to work with me. Don't come barging into the office when I'm in the middle of writing. I'm not going to be able to snap my brain out of what I'm working on. So now he asks, are you in flow? Is now a good time? Actually, no, it's not. I can't get there. Right, now's a perfect interruption, so maybe I can come back with a different perspective. So it's having the ability to put yourself in another pair of shoes can actually get easier with time. But yes, we're never going to completely see it.
And the interesting thing about doing that is that, as you say, it's a process. It's not perfect. There's no such thing as the perfect relationship. 70 first dates will tell you that. There's no such thing as perfect that's out there. What's something that maybe we can share with people that might help them, either a verbalisation or an approach or something they can look at immediately that will help them next time they want to talk to their partner about something that they don't like that's going on?
I don't know if I'll get this into a step process, but it comes down to pausing. First off, pause. Is this their issue or is it mine? Is it my bugbear that really I need to look at? Or is it something that is their identified weakness or flaw? So pausing. What's really happening here, me or them?
So take yourself out of that environment in your head and look at it from a perspective that what's going on.
The question I always ask myself is, what is this about? Where's this come from?
Is it just that they're tired? Is it that they're in flow and I've interrupted them? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The second thing is breath. It sounds old school, but it's because it works. The thing about our physiological object that we use is it needs oxygen. The brain is fueled by oxygen. If you're frustrated, you have energy in motion, so you're feeling emotion. You need to calm that emotion down before you have a conversation. You're bringing stuff in that doesn't necessarily serve the discussion. So calm yourself. And then before you approach that conversation, what is my part in this? How can I come from my perspective? I know I'm being frustrated that you always turn up late, and I recognize that I respond in this way, but is there a reason why you can't arrive on time? What is my part first, and take the sting out of the conflicting conversation.
Awesome. So there's some amazing tips you might want to use at home on your partner or your family or the person you work with straight away. Now we have an amazing award here, Mel. What did you win this award for? What was the finalist for?
I didn't win it. I was finalist. I was one of, I forget the number, like 2,000 applicants in this category.
Wow.
Specialized small business. So this was for my coaching work. So to get in my very first award application, one of 24 finalists,
wow,
but out of over 2,000 applicants in that category. So I'm pretty chuffed with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, brilliant. So Mel, a lot of people talk about looking for love and the search for love. What is your attitude towards love?
Awesome question. Within ourselves, we are all born with the ability to love. The sense of what I call absolute love comes from when you have self-confidence and self-esteem. The self-worth is separate, and then from there you have self-love. It's simply, if you can't have self-love, then you're not really going to allow somebody to give you love. You're not going to know how to work with complete sharing of unconditional love because you haven't got it for yourself. And it's not about you can't have it if you don't have it. It's about understanding what it feels like. So for me, it's the work always begins with self, and then from there, you don't need to look for love. It just is there. You feel it and sense it on a different level.
And it'll find you. Awesome. Mel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here on Brandworking TV. Thank you so much. Please make sure you check out Mel's programs at this very address. Mel, it's been awesome to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to seeing more about your program in the news, because I'm sure that's exactly where you'll get to.
Thank you.
So that's it for this episode of Brandworking TV. Remember, you have the most amazing natural gifts and talents to share with the world, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted.